The film begins by showing a grandfather and his grandson who are about to buy a blue bicycle. However, when they arrive there, the seller tells the grandfather to come back later because the blue bicycles are out of stock. Not long after, the seller immediately contacts his men to steal a blue bicycle in the school area. The next day, we are introduced to a teenager named Matilda. It turns out that the stolen bicycle is hers. Because of that, Matilda now has difficulty going to school. Moreover, the car that Matilda often uses has also broken down. Because of that, Matilda's mother immediately contacts her husband, Maruz, who happens to be coming home after finishing his assignment abroad for several months. However, because Maruz has not been able to arrive on time as promised, Matilda, who really has to go, is forced to use the train and is dropped off by her mother. On the other hand, we are also introduced to two men named Otto and Lena, who work at a company. However, because they did not reach the company's target, they were both fired that day. Shortly, when Otto was about to go home by train, he saw a man throwing away his food that he had not eaten at all. In fact, there Otto also saw a tattooed man who looked dashing, so that made him a little suspicious. Not long after, someone was seen getting on the train to go to school. Meanwhile, Matilda's mother, who did not get a ride to take her child, told her to use the train as transportation to school. And when the train departed, suddenly a big accident happened that was very terrible. Many passengers were injured, and they had to die very tragically. Meanwhile, Otto, who only got minor injuries, was about to go home. On the way, he saw Matilda, who was in shock due to the death of her beloved mother in the accident. Behind that, Marcus was seen being visited by his military colleagues and told that Marcus had to take leave immediately because his wife was now gone. In a short time, Marcus went home to see Matilda. He felt very guilty for not being able to protect his wife because he was too busy working. In fact, Marcus also went to the hospital to see his wife's body, even though at first the doctor did not recommend Marcus to see it, because he was afraid it would cause trauma. Back to Otto, who had just arrived home, he saw the news about the incident on the train. It turned out that the incident also killed a gang leader named Eagle. Otto, who knew that the Eagle gang was the sworn enemy of the Justice gang, began to speculate that the incident on the train was not an ordinary accident, but rather an intentional act. Without thinking twice, Otto immediately went to the police and told them everything about the incident on the train. In fact, Otto also said that he saw a man throwing away food that had not been eaten at all, and that the person got out of the train before the accident happened. However, the police who heard this just assumed that Otto was making up a story, especially since there was no evidence to accuse the Justice gang of doing this. Otto finally met Lena and asked him to hack the train server to find out who threw away the food before the incident happened. Otto was very sure that the person was the one who caused the accident. Even though the police considered the incident to be just an ordinary accident, on the other hand, Marcus and Matilda were seen still very sad over the death of their beloved mother. Not long after, Otto and Lena came to Matilda's house, and they met Marcus directly. Marcus immediately asked why Otto and Lena knew his home address. Meanwhile, Otto replied that Lena was a server hacking expert, so they could track and find out that Marcus was a very dashing Marine. Here, Otto also explained that the train accident was deliberate. Therefore, he asked Marcus to be willing to help investigate the case. Marcus, who heard this, immediately invited them to his warehouse to discuss this more clearly. Otto then explained that he saw a man who he suspected had made the train look like it had an accident. The man seemed to be targeting the gang leader on the train. In fact, Otto also explained that he had reported this incident to the police, but the police still thought that the incident was just an ordinary accident. After hearing Otto's explanation, Marcus, who knew that the incident was not an ordinary accident, was determined to take revenge. Marcus then asked Otto and Lena to show a photo of the suspect, but Otto and Lena only found a blurry image on the CCTV, so they could not find out the person's identity. However, Otto and Lena planned to meet a friend who could detect facial recognition so they could find the identity of the suspect. The next day, Otto and Lena met their friend named Tlur, a big man who looked stupid but was very genius. They continued to search for data to find the suspect, but unfortunately they still had no success. Therefore, Lena told Tlur to lower the accuracy to 95%, but Tlur refused because the standard accuracy was 99%. However, because Lena kept insisting, and they were very bored because they didn't get any results, finally Tlur agreed to lower the accuracy level to 95%. Until not long after Tlur lowered his accuracy, they finally managed to find the man they had been looking for. It was discovered that the man was named Pele, and he was the younger brother of the Justice Gang leader. Then, after finding out about it, Otto became even more convinced that the motive for the accident was a form of attack by the Justice Gang on the Eagle Gang leader. On the other hand, Marcus was seen, who was currently very angry because Matilda came home late at night with her boyfriend named Sirius. In fact, Marcus' emotions peaked when Sirius said something that made him have to slap Sirius. Of course, this made Matilda very disappointed, because Marcus always acted arrogantly like that. The next day, when Matilda was about to go to school, Marcus told Matilda to bring her boyfriend home, because Marcus wanted to talk to her. However, before that happened, Marcus received news from Otto and Lena that they had found the identity of the perpetrator behind the train accident. They immediately rushed to the person's house, namely Pele, the younger brother of the Justice Gang leader. Upon arriving there, Marcus immediately asked Pele about the train accident. However, Pele immediately pointed his gun at Marcus and told him to get out of there immediately. Marcus, who was initially about to get into the car, immediately turned around and killed Pele very bravely. Seeing that, Otto and the others were certainly very surprised because they did not expect Marcus to go that far. Worried that Marcus' fingerprints could be found by the police, Lena tried to erase them with a detergent. However, when he was about to take the detergent, Lena found a man being held hostage. Because he was scared, Lena decided to rush back to the car. That night, Matilda brought Sirius, her boyfriend, to dinner with Marcus. Here, Matilda told Marcus to consult his psychiatrist because Marcus often acted arrogantly, especially since Marcus had just lost his wife. However, at that time Marcus refused and said that his nature had always been very tough. Shortly after eating, Marcus went to the living room and saw the news about the Justice Gangster incident that continued to kill people without mercy. After seeing that, Marcus' determination became even stronger to eradicate all Justice Gangsters without mercy. The next day, Marcus asked Otto and the others to give him all the identities of the Justice Gangsters, because now Marcus planned to kill them all. Here, they agreed and would help Marcus, even though at first Otto refused because he strongly disagreed with Marcus' plan. However, when they were about to go to Tlur's house to find the identities of the gangsters, suddenly they saw Matilda, who had just come home. Of course, that made Otto immediately hide in the warehouse because he was afraid that Matilda would be angry, because Otto had told his mother to sit in his chair before the accident. Meanwhile, Matilda asked why Otto was hiding, until Lena and Tlur explained that they were psychiatrists asked by her father to come, while Otto was their friend. Behind that, the person who had been held hostage by Pele, the younger brother of the gang leader, was now being interrogated by the gang leader named Kurt. Kurt asked who the person was who had killed Pele, his younger brother, and he threatened to kill Badashka, the person being interrogated, if he did not tell him. Meanwhile, the frightened Badashka said that he only heard the person who killed Pele keep saying the name Tur. After that, Marcus and the others decided to look for the gangster's identity in Marcus' warehouse so that Matilda would not suspect what they were going to do. Here, Tlur, who knew that Marcus' computer was very slow, told Marcus and the others to take Tlur's computer from his house. However, when they arrived at Tlur's house, it turned out that there were already gangsters who were stalking Tlur's house. Not long after, when they were about to enter the house, Marcus was suddenly able to kill the gangsters, and he found Badashka, who was being held hostage. Marcus then saved him and took him to his house. After arriving home, Marcus told them to stay there temporarily to be safer from gangster attacks. The next day, Marcus taught them how to shoot so that they could protect themselves from gangster attacks that could come at any time. Meanwhile, on the other hand, the gangsters already know that Tlur has a friend named Otto, so Kurt, the leader of the gangsters, tells them to find Tlur or Otto. That night, Otto and Matilda become closer. Matilda even tells her boyfriend to take a picture of her with Otto to upload on social media. Meanwhile, Marcus and Tlur have now managed to hack the gangsters' phones, and they know that some of the gangsters will gather at a bar. Not long after, when the gangsters were about to leave there, without waiting long, Marcus immediately finished them off very gallantly. The next day, when the Justice gangsters were gathering, one of their members found a video of Otto that Sirius had uploaded on his social media. Meanwhile, on the other hand, Lena, who was talking to Badashka, asked if Badashka knew about the train accident that killed many people. Then Badashka replied, "Of course everyone in Denmark knows about the incident, but at the time of the incident, I was with Pele in Germany." Hearing this, Lena was very shocked because it turned out that they had the wrong person, and Pele and the Justice Gang had nothing to do with the incident. Until after they checked it on the computer, it turned out that Pele and the person they had been looking for were different. Then they reported this to Marcus, which made Marcus very disappointed because he had targeted the wrong person. Moreover, now he had to deal with the most feared gangster in Denmark, and of course this made Marcus very confused. Until it was discovered that the person they had been looking for was someone who worked at the train station. And he was a Turkish person working in Denmark. In fact, the accident was purely an accident, and not intentional. On the other hand, the Justice Gang asked where Tlur and Otto were, while Sirius, who could not stand their torture, finally told them where they were now. Not long after that, when Marcus was feeling confused, he felt suspicious of the surroundings of his house. Then, he ran inside and saved Matilda until a very brutal gunfight ensued. Marcus, who was shot, told Matilda to hide in the room because he was now determined to finish them all off. Then, Marcus quickly went to get his main weapon, and he gallantly finished them off one by one. But unfortunately, Matilda was successfully taken by Kurt, the leader, so that this forced Marcus to surrender. Here, Marcus, who did not want to hurt more people, surrendered and asked Kurt to just finish him off. However, when Kurt and his men were about to shoot Marcus, suddenly Otto and the others immediately shot the gangsters. As a result of the war, Matilda had to be shot in her left arm and was immediately hugged and lifted by Marcus, while the ambulance would come in a few moments. Here, Marcus said that he was very sorry to Matilda, and Marcus now could no longer feel his body because it turned out that he had also been shot several times. On Christmas Eve, Marcus and the others were seen gathering, and Marcus and Matilda already considered Otto and the others as their brothers. Meanwhile, behind that, the grandfather, who was going to buy the blue bicycle that we saw at the beginning of the film, has now gotten the bicycle and given it to his grandson as a Christmas present. And as we know, it was Matilda's bicycle that was stolen, and because the bicycle was stolen, it caused chaos that resulted in a very big war. Then the film ended, so that was the storyline of the film. Guys, if you like this video, please like it, and if you have any suggestions, please write them in the comments. Thank you for watching until the end.